Are you ready for the ultimate bikepacking weekend adventure? Join us for an unforgettable self-supported bikepacking trip through Southwest Virginia. The Grayson Gravel Pie Bikepacking Adventure travels along the Virginia Creeper Trail, the beautiful gravel roads of Grayson County, Virginia, and the New River Trail. All lodging and camping arrangements are included, along with daily routes and guides riding along with you. This self-supported adventure offers resupply opportunities every 20 miles for your food and water needs. Find out more at graveltraveldirt.com.
You're listening to Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brian.
And I'm Joey.
And I'm Matt.
Welcome to episode 142 of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. Come on along, everybody. Spend the next hour or so with us talking about gravel bikes, adventure biking, bike packing, bike camping, just playing bikes. On this episode, we have Matt Hawkins of Croatan Buck 50 and Ridge Supply. So before we get started, Joey, what are you drinking over there today?
Purple Monkey dishwasher. It's a chocolate peanut butter porter from Evil Genius.
And I'm just going to give a ditto because you handed me one of these as well. And I've had this before.
We finished all the Polar Seltzer in the house. So.
They're delicious. No, you know I like my partial to my White Claw.
Yeah.
Matt, what do you got? Anything there with you?
I've got a San Pellegrino lemon and lemon zest.
A lemon zest. Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Joey, what's going on in your world, my friend?
All right, quick rundown before we do this. Heading up to PA for another PA weekend with the folks at Nittany Mountain Works this weekend. Changed my bike setup a little. Actually cleaned my bike really well. Like you can see paint.
I can see on mine where the paint wore off.
Yeah. No, I didn't have that problem. I treat mine with Pedro's Bike Lust. Got my media pass for Philly.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a quick rundown. That's about it. Like I spent all day on the road, going from shop to shop to another shop today, and I'm kind of worn out.
You gave me the rundown of your runarounds.
I called everyone. I talked to Matt on the way home. I talked to the dirtbag guys up in PA. I talked to other people.
Good.
Got a lot of car time in.
I did clean up my bike a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And it definitely needs to come see you because it doesn't want
I don't do that anymore.
It still is. I don't know. It's a mess. And there's all these places where the straps were and...
Unit 3 of that? Clear vinyl?
No. But I don't know. I ride my bikes. I'm sorry. They get a little bit beat up. And that's just the name of the game. So that's just the way that it goes. The way that happens. I also got my media pass for Philly Bike Expo. Pretty excited about that. That's coming up November 6th
4th and 5th. Or...
Something like that. It's
the
first weekend in November. So if you're in or within reach of Philly, that's a great weekend. Lots of cool stuff to see.
It is.
I'm interested to see how they handle COVID. I know that in the thing they talked about wider aisles, more space. I think we're all masked up, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So that weekend, and I'm looking. I need to talk to Matt about it because I'm thinking that the next Monday, Tuesday about going down to Swansboro.
Okay.
So
good deal.
We'll figure out our schedules.
Good deal. Anything going on in your world, Matt? Anything Ridge Supply related?
Yeah, we're waiting on our fall kit orders are coming in, so everybody pre-ordered that, and they're landing here in the next few days. Waiting to get those from Cutaway, and then we'll be shipping those out and gearing up for the holiday time. Yeah. It's always a stockpiling event, and lead times of everything in every supply chain have changed the game. So it'll be an interesting holiday season for sure.
It's got to be a tough world to be a manufacturer right now, or in any kind of space and industry. It's just got to be. I mean, how has all the supply chain stuff hit you? Is it hard?
I mean, I'm fortunate with the socks that they're here in North Carolina, and aside from the shutdown that we had in 2020, where the state was shut down for 2 months, I've been able to get product from them, which has been fine. And mostly, honestly, I'm impacted on my own bikes. I think that's, and I'm sure everybody is. Yeah. Just finding a chain.
Yep.
These days requires some extensive internet clicking, and I've ordered a 10-speed chain. That's always fun when you order the chain and it comes in and it's a 10-speed chain. And
Joey,
oh man, you got my number. You just need to text me. I'm pretty good at stockpiling.
yeah, he is.
I've gotten really good now.
He's got the little safe back there in the back that has full of little blue boxes that say Shimano on the side of them. And but you are also a wizard, Joey, at finding things. Because I'll need something and Joey be like, okay, I can't get it, I don't have it, and he'll like immediately fire off a link, and it's like, okay, well they have this thing in stock. So he's really, really good at that. I've appreciated Joey in that regard, and I always feel bad. Like I really do feel bad buying stuff online from someplace else. But like you said, if you can't
at least
get
you're not getting 10-speed chains when they're supposed to be 11. That's gotta suck.
I mean, I support my local bike shop all the time, but the reality is they can't get
right.
a lot of stuff.
Right.
And they're giving me carte blanche to like go buy the thing that I go there first, and it's like, hey, we don't have it, we can't get it. That's just been a change. I think everyone's dealing with that a little bit.
That's Brian in my world up here. He comes to me first, and if I don't have it, yeah.
I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. Maybe if everybody does that, we can all get through this together. Yeah. I don't know what it's going to take to free up all that supply chain stuff. I don't know what in the world's going to happen with that. You heard Cutaway over there, Joey, and you perked up.
Sorry, it pinged me. Well, I actually forgot to order my Ridge Supply / Arsenal kit. Just in the mix of bike shop stuff. I totally. Matt.
You want to do it right here on the podcast? You can whip out your credit card and read the number.
Hey, I'll do it. Sure. However, Philip did hook us up with the new run of shop kits.
Yeah.
But I will give all that credit to, Matt hooked me up with Philip at Philly and got me connected with him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was it. Oh, that's right. That was
2 years
Philly Bike
ago.
Expo 2 years ago. That's right. Because he had a booth right next to you or very close to you, didn't he, Matt?
Yep.
Yeah, right on. That's small world.
Our shop kits are live for 9 days now.
Okay.
I will say, I'm pretty excited. I've loved all our GTD stuff, and Philip is working on a new kit for that, but our shop kits are out 100% Cutaway.
Yeah, he really does a fantastic bang-up
Philip
job.
wants to do some stuff on here, but when I call Philip, I talk to Philip, and
cool.
I get a real person, and he does all my stuff. And I love Specialized, but it's just that is a rabbit hole I'm not chasing again for a long time. As far as custom apparel,
they're suffering.
They're custom apparel, Philip knows his stuff, and he's there all the time.
And that's what he does.
Yeah, he calls me at Saturday at whatever 7 a.m. to talk about something, and I'm like, all right, cool.
Anything else in your notes, Joey, you wanted
That's it. I forgot about Cutaway.
Okay. Gotcha. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
You want to jump over to Strava Club?
Yeah, real quick, Strava Club. Sorry, Matt, no one from North Carolina this week popped up for me, but Robert May from somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think by Dave Pryor, 247.
Robert is a big fat bike guy.
So you better word that.
Yeah, and I had to back up a little bit. He is
fat bike guy.
Friends with Robert on Facebook.
All right, Mark Yango. Sorry, I just told you. Yango Masawa. Philly Mark from Philly, PA, with 150, which is low for him.
Oh, that is.
And then Ethan Crockett from Richmond, Virginia, with 112.2, which was right off from our top 100, which was 109.1.
Wow,
that's
down.
Up to 776 from days are getting shorter.
Yeah.
From 773, and it's strava.com/clubs/gravel travel dirt.
Wow, that's way off. That's like 20 miles off from our normal
average. Yeah,
average for the club for the top 100. Wow, interesting. All right, Matt. Well, let's talk Croatan Buck 50. How are things going? Where are you at?
Well, we opened registration a few weeks ago. We allowed everybody who had registered for the 2020 event a 2-week period to register if they wanted to, and we opened up registration to the general public. And right now we've got about 520 some folks already signed up, and the cap this year is 850. So we're heavily in the stages of planning things right now. And there's quite a bit that's changed since we last had an event, which was 2019, which is crazy to think, but all of the the roads had been impacted, and so we're actually changing the course a little bit, and coming up with some new styles, if you will, of event. And so we're rolling out some of that as well. And right now we're just trying to keep the push down to get folks registered. And one of the reasons we try to get it locked in early is we do a lot of things in advance, with ordering custom things for the racers. And so it's hard to do that, after December. So if you don't get it done in November, it won't happen, kind of thing. So,
right. So it's an early season race. The dates are March. Throw the dates at me.
March 19th is the Saturday, is the 50, the buck, and the buck 50. We moved it back a week this year. It's Mid-South is having their race the week before, and we never really a conflict with Mid-South, but we are a conflict with the elite riders.
Okay.
Mid-South is a hardcore West demographic, and we're obviously hardcore East. And there are folks that want to go to both, understandably, but the number would never have really forced us to switch it. But I had some folks that at the top level that were like, hey, I really want to come to your race, but I also have to go to Oklahoma. So we switched it back a week. And unfortunately, and I didn't know it at the time, but Swamp Fox down in South Carolina has their race on the same day as ours now too. So it is what it is. The gravel calendar is pretty packed, and we're gonna. You don't want to intentionally go up against somebody, but that's our weekend. We also have a big St. Patrick's Day festival down here in Emerald Isle, which we've been on the same weekend as every year, which has not been good. Because a lot of the services, like tent services and all that stuff, are like headed for that. And so this will be nice. We'll have our own weekend kind of to
do things.
Nice. Yeah.
So I don't think I will ever forget. I mean, there's a lot of things about COVID and where that came from that people remember, but I will never forget, Joey, sitting with you and Ted and wondering, like, are we leaving tomorrow morning, or are we not leaving tomorrow morning?
We were up till like midnight,
all the way up until breakfast that next morning. We were like, well, maybe we should or we shouldn't, and ultimately we didn't, and obviously ultimately you canceled that race. But it's one of those things that kind of sticks with you. It's like one of those things. Where were you when the space shuttle, or where were you when this, or that happened? And that's just
when COVID shut everything. I was waiting for Croatan.
yeah. It's crazy.
It was so wild. I mean, I really you could do like a movie about it. Not that it's relevant anymore, but it was real for all of us that week, and fluid. We've talked about it a couple times where I was in a situation where it was just me making this decision. And that week, the common man like us didn't have much information, and if you were in a city, maybe you were hearing more. Down where we were, we really weren't. It was like something that was coming in the future, maybe, but it wasn't, quote unquote, it wasn't here or whatever. So I was really, really nervous that you guys, because the demographic that really comes here is hardcore somewhere near DC kind of thing, like within an hour or two around DC. And so just being able to keep those people from coming at the last second was hard. So we already had 300 people or something here on the ground when I canceled it. But hindsight 2020, I wouldn't change anything. I'm glad we did it.
You made the right call.
Sucks.
No, you made the spot on right call. And I've said this before. I actually have applauded you several times for that decision, because that had to be tough. I mean, just brutally tough to make that call at that point in time. So close to the window. But, I think we've all had to step up and do hard things like that. So, kudos, man.
Yeah, I mean, in one way, it is just a bike race. What the hardest part was that we'd spent all the money, like there's nothing to refund at that point. And that part is some people don't understand that, but like when you put on an event, the day of is like the finish line. It's all the other stuff before that you can't take back. And because we were getting locked down and all that stuff. And as you guys know, I mean, shoot, we really weren't having events down here for a full year after that. Yeah. And so there really wasn't a way to postpone it and everything. So we just had crappy timing, I mean, there was races a week or two after us that had a lot more time to, adjust. We just had no timing in Mid-South. They went forward with it, and I don't think it was a bad decision for them. I mean, they did the best they could with the information they had, but I was just mortified to let down that many people. That was the worst part about it. Yeah, because so many people wanted to come. We're not just like a crit, that you decide the night before you're going to go do. This is something people have been planning for months,
training for.
Yeah.
Training for, I know.
And opening their season with and all that. So that I really, and it's not poor, pitiful me, but like that, it was hard. That was hard for me to like be the guy who had to like, be like, oh crap. I just like, man, I just disappointed a lot of people. Now I think a lot of people in retrospect understood it was a good decision at the time, but it still sucked,
It also could have taken, in retrospect too, it could have taken a lot of pressure off of people who were trying to wonder whether they should or shouldn't. It's like, should I actually go travel? Should I actually do this? Oh, is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? They're kind of on the fence. And when you went ahead and made that call, I think it took a lot of that pressure off of people having to make that decision. So,
for sure.
There's a whole different view you can take on that as well. But,
I just remember feeling bad for like Matt and, someone, we were talking about it, like putting all the time and effort to like the 0 hour. And and that's a whole other thing.
And you got caught in that window where it was, man, it was right then. It's amazing to me that something can happen so fast. And we can just turn on a dime as a community. We can just turn on a dime like that and totally upend the apple cart, so to speak. And you're literally like right on the front bleeding edge of that. So that's a
for sure
tough spot to be in. But hey, enough about
enough COVID. Let's talk about the current
COVID. One. Yeah, enough of all what's in the past.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for bringing all that back
you just
up,
drug us down. Let's build it back up.
No, I think we need to revisit that from time to time to make sure everybody appreciates what people are doing.
Yeah, Matt. But let's talk about this year.
So the Buck 50, the format of race day hasn't changed. Let's recap that real quick.
Yeah, so you can sign up for the 50, the Buck or the Buck 50. We basically start and stop the race at a local NASCAR track. It's a short track. It's got a lot of facilities that are available there. So free camping, tons of room, and we do a neutral rollout. We have a lap in the Croatan that is essentially an out and back, and there's one aid station out at the turnaround spot. Okay. There's an aid station at the speedway. So if you do the 50, it's one lap. And if you do the 100, it's 2 laps. And if you do the Buck 50 this year, it may very well be 2 laps as well. One of the things that we're working on is a new course for the Buck and the Buck 50 that gets the Buck people to 100 miles and gets the Buck 50 people to 150 miles. And our problem always has been that the way that we have the course set up, we were under that. And we also have a lot of people on the course doing 3 different races at the same time. So there's been some frustration about 50 people or 100 people pushing the pace for, 150 riders or whatever. And so we've been, myself and Pete McKinney, who's here helping me with the race this year, we've been doing some recon, riding some new roads, and we think we have a course that will be pretty rad for all 3 races. And I can talk about it, but of course it has to get approved and everything. So I'm still waiting on that and in that process. But essentially what we'll do with the buck is the first lap, when you get to the aid station, the 50 people will turn around and come back. The buck people will go on a different route, like for an extra, say 15 miles. And then the buck 50 people will go on a third route for almost a 75 mile loop. So the buck 50 people will do 2 75-mile loops. And then the buck folks will do like a 54-mile loop and then a 44-mile loop. And so it sounds more complicated than it is, but essentially what it is like, we're going to scatter the race out once you get to that aid station where your 50 folks will come back. Your buck people will keep going and do a really rad like addition to the lap, and then on the second lap they'll just do the standard 46-mile lap. We've had to take Savage Road out of the.
I was going to ask about that. I was going to ask about Savage Road.
Yeah, so we had to take Savage Road out of the race this year. They've closed it entirely to all traffic, which means bikes as well, and they're actually going to repair it. So. I think by 2023, it'll be back in the race, but it will be a gravel road instead of an apocalyptic mud hole track.
So I got a story on Savage Road. My wife and I went down to Swansboro for a Valentine's Day weekend, headed into Croatan before the race that got canceled. And we went out and we rode. I think you and I talked, and we went out. Yeah. We rode some of the routes and and one of the things that we did was Savage Road. And she was so proud of herself because she rode it, and she rode it. She didn't like pop around it. She actually rode it. She was so proud of herself though. It was a beast. It was a beast, and it'll be both probably missed and not missed by a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly did. I would have had it in the race this year for sure if it was my call. I didn't have a choice. But the new stuff that we found, one of the rad things about the Croatan, we have 200 miles of roads here, and but we don't have loops. A lot of people want to have a loop. They want to have a whole brand new thing. We just can't do that with the way that the Croatan is structured. There's all these swamps out there that are protected, and they don't have roads through them, and there never will be. So the roads that we have are kind of the roads we have, but we've been able to link some together in a way past the aid station that are phenomenal. And I think this year what's going to be cool is if let's say you've done the 2 iterations that we've had, it's going to feel like a totally different race, especially for the buck 50 people.
Cool.
And we're sending you to an area that is totally different. And it's not, there's not a Savage Road type area to it, but there's some totally new terrain, and, the impact on the race will be different.
Right.
For sure. And it won't be 3 identical loops. It'll be 2, but they're going to be big ones.
I was at Unpaved, and I did that difference loop, and that was sort of like the rough part. And there was a lot of rain, and so there was a lot of big water puddles. And it was funny because I was coming up to those things, and I'm looking at them, and all I had in the back of my mind was a 3-foot puddle on Savage Road, and I'm watching people just dive it into this water, and I'm going, "Oh, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. I have no idea what that water looks like."
Yeah.
That's all I could think about.
Yeah, I see people, when I see the footage of the race, I've seen people ride right through mud holes like it was nothing. And I saw, my friend Lee, we call him Oz. He's my size. I mean, we're like 6'2", 200 pounds. I saw him go in a tire rut. So like say a 12-inch wide tire rut. He slipped his front wheel in there. The whole bike went in this tire rut, and his body all the way to his shoulder. And when you see that happen, that when you see one that's 12 foot wide, there's probably an alligator and it's 6 feet deep. So my advice to you, if you're listening to this, don't ride in the mud hole, period.
Don't do it. So. Don't do it unless you see somebody else go, because that was my gauge. If I saw somebody else ahead of me go through it, then I'm like, okay, I'll follow that line. I know I'm good to go. But if there was nobody else out there, and I spent a lot of time alone out there. So.
No one's else jumping off the bridge. Yeah,
exactly. Okay,
we're 100% at sea level. If you put a straw in the ground, you'll have a well. That's how close you are to water.
Okay, so there's something that you've got that you're adding in this year that is totally new, the long weekend. Tell us about the long weekend.
Yeah, so a lot of races do like an XL version or an XXL version, and I got no problem with that. We could very easily do such a thing. I find that those are races they're extremely challenging, and one of the formulas of the Buck 50, because it's early season and it's a stepping stone type event to some of the bigger challenges that folks are doing in, say, May and June. I wanted to create something that was also longer, but Buck 50 style. And so the long weekend is actually sort of like an intro to bike packing. And what we're going to do is if you sign up for the 50, the Buck or the Buck 50, you're going to get invited to do the long weekend. And what that means is on Thursday, you come and you start at the Speedway, you park at the Speedway, you take everything with you. So you'll need tents, stoves, food, shelter, clothes, whatever you need. You need your own bags, et cetera. And we're going to have about a 75-mile route that will be in the Croatan, and we'll end up on the other side of Croatan, on the Pamlico side, at Flanners Beach. And Flanners Beach is one of the there's a trail system over there, and there's a campground. And we're going to have a select group this year, so maybe 30, maybe 50 people that are going to do the long weekend. They'll do that. They'll camp. That night there's showers, there's bathrooms, there's fresh water, all that stuff. But you'll need to basically be self-supported, bring your own stuff. But it'll be a group camp vibe. Everybody who's doing the long weekend will be there. Wake up the next day on Friday. There'll be another around 75-mile route, which is a different route that will bring you back to the Speedway. And then you'll be required to camp there at the Speedway the night before the race. So again, it'll be a group camp vibe, bonfire, hangout times. The cool thing about the 75 miles is it's not going to take you all day.
Right.
Legit could take you 5 hours or 6 hours or 7 hours, maybe. You could do it faster than that for sure, but depending on the wind and what, if you're trying to race it, you could get done quickly, but you should be back in plenty of time for daylight and all that stuff and be able to enjoy the evening. Saturday, you wake up there at the Speedway and you do your mass start race, whichever one you signed up for. So the theory is it's a way to do a bike packing race without the extremes that a lot of the bike packing races really are. It's hard. I didn't know of I'm sure somebody's going to tell me different now, but I didn't know of a bike packing race that was sort of like the starter race, like not threatening, but I got all my gear. I want to try it. I don't want to feel like I'm doing this, dot tracker race where like immediately I'm left by all these superhuman folks, and so I think that's kind of what we're trying to go for, but the elements are there to build it over time where it can be an actual race, but that's not what this year's about. And it is about a time with friends. The other thing, I was talking to my buddy Steven, who runs Rodeo Labs, and he made a really good point. He's like, a lot of people come down to the Buck 50 because if it's a Ridge Supply event. It's like I own Ridge Supply, and Ridge Supply is not the sponsor, but like my footprint's all over it. And people want to come here there are people that want to come here that want to see me and ride with me. And so I'm going to try my best to be able to do at least the first day of the long weekend, just so I can have that experience, because I want that experience. When you put a race on, it's chaos, but I have enough time where I should be able to delegate enough things where I can actually experience that for first day, because that's what I'm looking for. But long story short, for the long weekend, you have to sign up first for one of the 3 events, and then we'll send an invite to you. And if you're interested, you can apply to do it this year. If for some reason we have 200 folks that want to do it, we probably won't be able to accommodate that many. It's no additional charge. And we're going to handle all of the logistics for the first year. And the other cool thing that we're going to do is we're going to have a scholarship for 5 people. So we're basically going to select 5 folks that want to try it, but they probably don't have any gear, or they need help making it work. And so we're going to make sure that we have the stoves and the bags and the tents and everything that you need. So where we can set somebody up to do the long weekend without having to.
You could do that with like a buddy system too, because honestly, I see this all the time on bikepacking trips. Not everybody needs to bring a stove. You know, you're usually just boiling water to pour in a plastic pouch to heat up some mountain house stuff. So if you've got one stove for 4 or 5 people, then you're fine. You know, it's that kind of thing. So even a buddy system kind of thing with some of that scholarship stuff would work really well. Everybody likes to be self-sufficient because they want to show that they got their stuff, but it's so much better if, you know, you show up and 12 jet boils are plopped onto the, you know, picnic table. It's like, you don't need them all. So that's super, super cool. Yeah. I really dig that. I dig that a lot. So you kind of walked through it. It's a 75-mile. It doesn't sound like it's rigorous, but I mean, how would you actually really describe that 75 miles for
I mean, the thing that you guys have been here, you know, like mileage takes on a different thing here because you never coast.
Yep.
So it's a grind. I mean, we did it. Pete and I did it the other day because one of my formulas for putting on a bike race is like, I go do it. I go do the race myself 40 times. And I'm like, if I'm bored with it after 2 rides, then it's not a good course, you know? Right. So we went out and reconning it and doing it. And I mean, we averaged 12 miles an hour, you know, which is not impressive. But part of that is you stop and take pictures and you're not in a hurry. And that really helped with getting, it could be extreme and we could do 150 miles, you know, but that's too much. And people don't want to also show up to the Saturday ride totally destroyed,
right?
Because that would just be a miserable experience. So I think the route is good, and we're going to also take folks to places that they will have never seen before. I mean, because there's places where I hadn't ridden. I've been here 15 years. I haven't ridden there until last week, you know, and because there's areas in the Croatan, they're not scary, but they're areas that just don't go anywhere, you know. Okay. Yeah. And if you don't try to ride down there and see it, and the problem is sometimes those areas are 60 miles away from where I live, so you can't just like go check it out. You have to like really invest in a full day of riding to go see what's down that road. And so we found some things that are really cool that I think we want to, you know, give people the opportunity to see. But we're still in the stages with the Croatan to try to figure out what we can or can't do. So the route will be the one thing we're not going to do. We thought we were going to do waypoints where it was like, hey, go here, go here, go here, and you could plot it. It's really hard to do that the way we have it set up. People would end up going onto roads, which we don't want to do. So we're going to just provide a route, nice and simple, GPX, you know, Strava route, whatever, that people can download, and that should solve, you know, the drama. And we're also going to try to work with you know, tracking service as well. So if people have spot trackers or Garmin inReaches already, great. If not, we'll have that in place as well. So that's our plan for the long weekend, to try to build the experience of, I don't want to call it a race because it's certainly not going to be.
Yeah.
But you'll be tracked, and you can make sure your loved ones are safe, and we'll find out where Brian's at. Like, why isn't Brian here right now? Like we'll be able to know where he's at.
There's that gator in that ditch.
Yeah. I've been lost in a Florida swamp before and gone, waist deep in swamp water trying to find my way out, pushing a bike through it. So
DI tutor railing. Yeah.
Probably one of my dumbest things I've ever done in my life. But swamp wandering is just not something you want to do.
Yeah.
So what does your typical bike packing gear setup? And Joey, maybe a future episode we should actually kind of spend a time and do a deep dive into bike packing gear.
Yeah, we also talked about just actually going down, and I talked to Matt on the phone. Well, we've all three talked about it, not together, but
But what does from a bike perspective? What's the perfect Croatan? Is it a national forest or state forest?
Are you talking about the bike packing part or the regular?
No, I was talking about bike in general.
Oh, okay, sorry.
So it's Croatan.
It's a national forest. It's a national forest.
So what's the perfect Croatan bike look like?
Trail donkey.
Yeah, my bike, of course. No, the one thing we don't have is we don't have a lot of flat situations, or flats, meaning like we don't have flint rock, we don't have like weird roots or thorns or whatever, and so a lot of us, myself included, I run slicks down here. So if you run slicks or semi slicks, you're fine. You don't need a beefy, burly tread. The corners of are the dangerous parts, and they're always sandy, and honestly you just can't go through them fast. So if you have slicks like I do, you just go through them, to go through the corner a little gingerly, or don't lean over too much, and you don't slide out. Then the rest of the time the tire's super fast and great. So and I even ride it when it's wet or whatever, but I recommend people run, I would say like a 35 to like a 43, somewhere in there. Obviously, when we started this race in 2018, tire choice was totally different than it is today. I mean, you can run whatever you want. But you just don't need a whole lot of tread, and you don't need a whole lot of tire to be fast here. I will say that we do have some washboard, and we do have a lot of potholes, and there's a lot of line choice. So if your saddle setup or your stem setup is really rigid and kind of like cyclocross like, it can be rough. It can beat you up. But yeah, I mean, most folks are running a 1x setup down here. We run big gears here. That's the other thing. Like my front chain ring, a lot of times people are like, what is that? I mean, I run like a 48 or a 50 on the front. But that's because we don't have hills at all, 0 hills. And if you want to stay in the middle of the cassette and pop around, about 3 gears is all you really need. You need a bigger ring in the front. If you're running a smaller ring because you're from somewhere that's hilly, you're fine. You're just going to be a little bit further down the cassette. It's a great single speed course. If you nail it just right, once you get up to speed, that single speed will be great. I've also found, because I run my Flanimal single speed, if you're off a tooth or two, it can really suck, because you're topping out at 17 miles an hour and it's just not enough. But if you dial the speed in right, it's a great single speed course. Any bike will do. You don't need suspension. Mountain bikes really don't need to run. Can you run a road bike? Yes, people have done it. Highly recommend not running a road bike unless you're running like 32s or something on it. But
bring my ethos.
Your ethos would probably do great.
I mean, Pete's got an ethos, and you can squeeze it. I mean, it depends on what kind of ride you want.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way. The Croatan is gentle enough for a road bike. I mean, I'd ride my Venge out here if I could fit the right tire on it. And we did when the roads were in better shape, we did ride road bikes out there, but that was that's 5 years ago, man. We've had Hurricane Florence came through and took care of that for us. So,
yeah, I was going to ask you too. What changes the conditions? I mean, is it really purely storm driven? Is it use driven? Is it?
Yeah, it's mostly what people don't realize is like if we get a really wet season, if you will, and that's the winter is when it's wet. In the summer, it dries out like very easily, and the big thing that dries out mud is wind. People don't think about that. So if we can have it pour rain today, and it's really muddy. But if the wind blows tomorrow, it'll dry, which is crazy. Now, I'm not saying the mud hole will dry out, but the road itself will be dry and packed, and it's great. The biggest thing for March is that we haven't had a wet buck 50 yet. That day will come. We all know it will. It could be cold and wet, and if it is, I don't think the race will be all that bad if it's actually raining. What would be worse is if we had 2 or 3 days of rain before, and then the day of it wasn't raining.
Okay.
If it is raining, the soil is very, absorbing of the moisture, and the mud holes fill up with water. And I like that when they're filled up with water, because then not to ride in them like we were talking about, but. Yeah, so that's the main driver of the conditions. I mean, we won't have like apocalyptic soupy conditions. I mean, even if it's pouring raining, you can still ride out here and it's going to be fine. I mean, you're going to get muddy, but it doesn't really get brutal. Because I've ridden out here just about any condition. And if in March, though, February and March always scare me, because when we're going out in the weeks before the buck 50 to do all the coursework and stuff, I mean, it always looks like it's just horrible. And then sometimes magically in the second week of March, it just looks great. And so that's what we're hoping for.
So how can folks, I'm going to put links in the show notes and in the show description, but how can folks sign up? Where do they go? How do they jump on board? And it's like you said, they have to sign up for the race first and then long weekend stuff. So
yeah. So we're on Bike Reg. If you go to croatanbuck50.com, the link's right there for Bike Reg as well. The information that we offer on the race, as far as like the route, all these other things, they'll be updated on the website as we finalize them here soon. And the long weekend, essentially, like I said, is an invite only. So once you've I've already sent an invite out to the folks that are available now, but once people log or get their registration, we'll send the invite to them and see how they want to respond. Right now, we've got about, like I said, 520 folks, and there's another 300 spots available. One thing that we're going to do here soon is after November 1st, we're going to cut off the swag element of the registrations. So everybody that registers before November 1st will be eligible for, or will get all of the swag that we produce. Everybody who registers after that will donate the money to the charity of the year, which we're still working on what that formally will be. But the same money that we would have spent on the swag will be just automatically donated for those for whoever's left. Just because I totally get it. In today's climate, not everybody can decide that they want to book this race this far out. And it very well may stay, we might not fill up. It's possible. So, but that in order for us to be able to order the custom things that we do, we're going to do that. And the other piece, which is, I don't mean to keep long-winded about it, but this year we're going to do something a little different. I'm going to, after November, the folks that are in that window that are eligible for the swag, I'm going to send them the opportunity to basically opt in or opt out. So if folks don't want the stuff that we provide, which I totally get, then we'll donate the money. Cool. And so
I'm going to say your swag bags are pretty awesome. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's what the race kind of named or known for and started with. And of course it's what I do for a living, but I also totally get that people might not want an orange hat or whatever, right? So like maybe they're just like, why would you make something that I don't want? And we've all been to races and got stuff that was just like we just got it and we didn't want it. So my idea was like, hey, I'm gonna let you know what it is. I'm gonna show you a picture of it, and you're gonna basically say yes, I want it, or no, donate. Nice. To the charity. And so I think it'll be a rad way to raise great funds for the charity for folks that want to. And then, and we're still going to do a raffle this year, like we did, which is awesome. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a great way to do something good or also get great swag if that's what you prefer.
Sure. So, any sponsors, any shout outs you want to give, local folks that are helping you, any kudos to give down there?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have sponsors like a typical race. I like to call them partners or family or whatever. And I don't sell spots, and I'll say it here first, but I've said this before, like I'm not going to sell the race, or it's never going to be presented by someone else. And the reason being that it doesn't need to be, Sure. That's not what this is. We've got a lot of races out there on the calendar that are corporate enough as they are. And I wanted this race to always feel like you were coming down to where I'm from and we were going to show you a good time for the weekend, Cool. And that's kind of that's what I want it to be like. We have such a great group of volunteers. I'm so fortunate to live in an area with a super strong Marine Corps community. And for folks that don't know, we have 3 Marine Corps bases here within, 30 miles of where I live, and we have 55,000 Marines. And so, and they're constantly coming and going, and the cycling scene is always directly impacted with those folks. And so I'm just blessed to have enough people that are local, that ride, that also want to help, that have chosen not to race this year. And so, yeah, so we couldn't do it. I couldn't do it without the help of those kind of folks. And I mean, I like Joey's mentioned that he's maybe going to come down and support. And I don't know if he's coming to support me or come to support Jess, but
no, I signed up as a straight volunteer.
I know what Joey wants. Joey wants to put his golden pipes behind a microphone and be the master of ceremonies.
That's right.
I know what Joey wants.
He wants a jumpsuit. That's what he wants. He wants a red jumpsuit and the microphone.
That's the truth.
I can make it happen.
There you go.
Don't tease me. But you can. I am gonna make it a thing. You got to everyone needs to volunteer at events.
Yeah.
Once a year, you go to all this stuff. I picked Matt's.
Yep.
Freaking.
I think that's brilliant.
Volunteer.
I think that's a great push.
You get to understand. Yeah, a little bit, and it's a nice thing to do.
You get to see what these guys are going through with regards to putting these races on.
I got to say, too, when I first did this, I had no idea what I was doing, and I had never, ever, ever volunteered for anything like this, and which is crazy. But I got more satisfaction out of seeing everyone else enjoy the event than I've ever had at an event myself. And that doesn't mean that going to an event yourself is not cool, because they're awesome. But being a part of it in that way, or at least finding, it's one thing if somebody just puts you there as a volunteer and just makes you stand there and hand out water, that's different. But like if you can put people in positions where they're interacting with the race and they're somehow, with their heckling or they're, just keeping people safe or whatever, then it's an engaging use of your time for the day. So I'm happy to put Joey in a jumpsuit and behind the microphone.
I know how much it meant when I was rolling down the rail trail 6 miles away from Miller Center in the pitch dark with nobody around, and all of a sudden there's 2 people standing on the side of the rail trail with a cowbell, and it's like you just look at them and you go, God, thank you. Yeah. That means so much. And they don't know how much that means when it's just that little bit of oomph. And I think you got a great community down there. Swansboro, the time we came down there, full of friendly people. Absolutely just a tremendous, tremendous cool place. So
Thank you.
Cool bike race in a cool place. What else could you want, right?
There's good fishing down there too.
Yeah, and they got redfish. So
and a beach house. You can just get a beach house.
See, now I'm going back and forth between I want to do the long weekend, but I also want to sit in a beach house. I
know. You cannot have both.
I think the potential for a long weekend is
you can have the long week, so do the beach house, then do the long weekend, and then the beach house again.
You know what? That's I think the brilliant.
Some of us have to work, but
I like going to these places and floating some cash around. I think you're.
I think half our both shops are going. I don't know if we're going to close one of them.
You might. Why don't you? Who cares about all
staff,
that capitalism stuff? Let it go, Joey. Let it go.
Well, you guys mentioned Mark. I think that Paper Trail is actually going to have a one of their trips is going to be here that week. So nice. they're going to bring folks down, get a house, ride, do the race. So I'm excited to see how that shakes out.
They're a big rodeo lab.
Oh yeah.
Too, yeah.
Oh yeah. Cool. Well, Matt, thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
And you know how this works because you've been here before. We're going to do this or that, and we sure hope you're going to stick around for them. You in?
Sure.
Okay. Joey, I have got some this or that's that you put together and that I've previewed and that are just absolutely fantastic. I just want to dive right in. Matt, I'm going to toss it over to you first. Joey, you're second, and I'm going to bring it home. First one, would you rather own a car with a horn that plays YMCA or a car with your kid's favorite cartoon character painted on the side? Okay, so that's horn that plays YMCA or your kid's favorite cartoon character painted on the side.
I gotta go with YMCA on that one.
Oh, nice.
I think I could get a lot more use out of that unexpected horn for sure.
Joey,
the horn sounds great. I don't have a kid. You guys have kids, but I don't know. It'd be cool, like if it was Big Bird or something. But YMCA.
Okay, I'm going to be the wild card
Bow
here.
Hunt, Calvert County. I would love it.
I'm going to go with both. I would actually love to have, I'm trying to think back to what my kid's favorite cartoon would be, like Arthur or, something like that, but also play YMCA when you blow the horn. That would be fantastic.
I love the YMCA.
That would be so much fun. Second item on this or that. Have your DI2 die during the $1.50 or run out of food. Ooh.
100%. Have your DI2 die because mine did recently, and if you're here, you're already in the right gear anyway. So when it dies, you won't even know.
I thought about that one when he was talking about the single speed part. I'm like, ooh, got a really expensive single speed.
This really actually happened to me 2 weeks ago. Or I did a 75-mile ride over to Flanders Beach and back, and like 20 miles in, I started to shift and it just wouldn't go. And I was like, oh, the wire must be loose. And no, it was dead as a doornail. But luckily I was literally like in the perfect gear for just surviving it. It wasn't too hard. It wasn't too easy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a no brainer because if you ran out of food, it would not be good. I don't like being hangry.
Oh, Joey, where are you at?
Man, sometimes I go without food. Like we did that metric on the canal, and I was almost okay without food because we didn't plan on
it. Well, you died. But
it was dead flat too. I don't know. Although I don't think I shifted a whole lot at all. I'll probably go dead battery.
Yeah,
like if I'm riding my ETAP. But
you know me, I don't eat a whole lot on the bike anyway. I eat a lot before and a lot after, and I kind of graze along the way.
You don't want to just make it have gears.
Yeah, but like Matt said, it's like you don't need much. I don't know. I think I'd probably I'd rather run out of food. I think it would get in my headspace not having the ability to shift.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Okay. Third item. Get a pillowcase of candy that you have to share with your family, or get a smaller bucket that you have all to yourself. So a little Halloween preview.
I would rather have one to share with my family for sure. Because I've got 3 kids and they
you're sharing it whether you want to or not. So
yeah. I mean, it would keep them busy for a while, which is good. They might go crazy, but they would at least leave my wife and I alone for a little bit while they had the candy.
Joey?
I have my wife.
Okay.
But everything mine is hers.
Okay.
Evan from Nittany's like, oh, I forgot to give your wife a sweatshirt. I was like, don't worry, she already took mine. Like,
yeah.
Anything mine is hers. Which is a good thing. Sorry.
Not a big candy eater, but man, if that pillowcase,
nice little bucket of Reese's.
Well, I was just wondering, it would either have to be full of Reese's or would it have to be full of like gummies, like scratch gummies or shot blocks or something?
I'm done with cycling gummies after this weekend.
That's all I ate on Sunday. Fourth and last item: carry no food, but have an unlimited supply at aid stations, or have to carry all of your food in your jersey pockets for Croatan.
Like doing the 150. Okay. Carry all your food in your jersey.
Yeah,
I guess honestly, you do that anyway.
I've never raced it, but if I did race it, and this isn't like a pro tip, but maybe it is, I would not stop at the aid stations. I would have my own bottles at the racetrack, and I would do a hand up of that, and I would not stop. I think the aid station, at least the first year when I was out on the ruckus on the course and saw it, that was a critical thing that was happening at the front end of the race, where if you're really racing it and you stop and the folks in your group choose not to, it's a bad day. Yep. Because it's a long way back. It's 27 miles back to the speedway before you could, maybe catch them. So if I were to really be strategic on it, I would carry my food. I would go 2 bottles per lap and just have the bottles waiting myself. And that's one thing we do at the speedway too, is like you can use the pit lane and you can have your own pit. You don't have to you don't have to go through the aid station and get the aid station drinks. You can get your own stuff. It's a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's good, Joe.
I'm not built like Matt. I don't think I could do that nonstop. I could do a pretty long pull, but I think I would just rely on aid station food. I don't spend a lot of time at aid stations at all. I hate
aid stations are a time suck.
You spent like 4 hours at one last weekend.
No, I did not.
I'm in and out.
I was in and out.
I just pulled. I ate, I think it was 12 or 14 packs of goo gummies, Matt, last Sunday. Like to the point where I just was forcing food, so I didn't go in a hole. But I will not eat those again for like a month from goo. But I think I would go to the aid stations.
I am
very quick. I'm like 5
there
minutes
with
in and
you,
out.
Matt. I'm right there with you, Matt. I think no matter what you do, by the time you stop, get off your bike, you're 15 minutes in the hole. And you don't even realize it. You don't even know it's happening. Like when we came to that first aid station, I never got off the bike. I stopped. I found Larry. I said, I'm not getting off the bike. Let's go. And it was gone. And I
think the difference is like, are you riding the ride or are you racing it?
I'm riding the ride.
And there's no shame in that. Like when we do Alpine Loop, they have the best aid stations in the world. I wouldn't miss it for nothing. I'm stopping. But it also takes me an extra hour to do the thing because I've stopped at the 4 rest stops, for 25 minutes easily and eaten all the things.
Yeah.
They even have an espresso machine at one of them. They're pulling shots for people but that's not what the $150 is like. You have grab and go there at the $150. You can definitely get through the aid station without dallying. And it isn't really a place where you want to hang out. It's a gravel parking lot in the middle of a swamp. So you do just get what you need and keep going.
Right. I still stick by it. I'm not crazy about aid stations. I just think it's, their time suck. But it all depends on what you want out of the day.
Yep.
It all depends.
There's some people last weekend that was their party for the weekend.
Well, yeah, I mean pierogies and
try to get back on the bike after sitting for a half hour. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Well, Matt, thank you very much for joining us. This has been a tremendous amount of fun, and we are going to continue to talk about.
This will be our big winter thing.
It's our big winter push.
Yep.
Are y'all going to come visit? Are you going to come do?
Yeah,
I think come do a pre-ride.
I think we were talking. I think Brian's cleared
we need to check
early mid-ish November before it gets ridiculously. I don't know how ridiculously cold that part of North Carolina gets, but
I don't know. We're prepped.
We're prepped. We'll do it. I want to do it in November.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We'll definitely,
and then come back in December and January.
Definitely making an appearance. There's no doubt about that. Joey, you got anything else before we shut it down?
I will say, obviously, Ridge Supply socks are pretty easy to spot in the wild. But I was wearing the Ride Streak Autumns at Unpaved. I have never had that many people ask me about my socks. Like, I swear, Matt, it was like 20 plus people. Me and Marcus had matching ones. I'm like,
how did you keep
Ridge Supply? Like,
how did you keep them clean?
After a while, all you saw was the left side of it.
Okay,
the rest of it was mud, but the left side was perfectly clean. And everyone's like, "Oh, I love how your socks are matching." And then like they just wanted to know what they were. Oh, the Ridge Supply. It was cool, but I've never gotten that amount of compliments on socks.
Nice.
Because I don't know if people were like, "Oh, what are they?" But they're my favorite ones right now.
Cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's the magic, man. That's how it happens.
Yeah, they're a little different design, which I love.
That's it.
And they're bright and they're cool. And I was seeing.
Were you handing out business cards? You tell them where to get them, right? You were like, "Come to the shop. I got them in the shop."
Oh, he talks about and posts pictures of his Ridge Supply and Nittany bag wall because it's the most colorful thing in the whole shop.
I have a Mid-Atlantic section in my shop now, Matt. It started with Matt saying I could have Ridge Supply in the store, and then I've had Nittany, and then I have other products from the Mid-Atlantic. I love it.
I think it's pretty much right in the center of the store too. When you walk in, it's like right in front of you. You can't
and
miss it.
Just to be clear, like I don't sell to stores. Like that's not my business model, but I do sell to stores that want to have, like if I'm not going to tell you no, but if you ask and you like for it, then I do sell wholesale. And like, that's a great way for stores to, to have color for sure. I mean, and I found too, one of my first dealers, if you will, back in the day when I started was down in Asheville, and Kevin Hessler, who's down there, who he works for Motion Makers now, but he was, he loves socks, and he had this giant sock wall. I mean, it was huge. And the more socks you have, the more socks you sell. I know that sounds obvious, but it's really true. If you only have 5 pairs of socks on a sock wall, nobody will buy them. But if you have a whole giant wall of bright colors, and it's like the one thing at the shop you can buy, like that's like it's like at the grocery store when you're checking out and they're like got all the drinks and the candy, it doesn't need to be there, but it is. Cause you're like, like y'all said, I'll get the Reese's and it's right here. That's the way the socks are.
They're a great extra pickup item.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate you said yes when I called you. But it's exactly right. Like our first batch cleared out so fast. I'm like, crap, I got to order again. And, and we're getting to the same point. And, there's stuff I won't have, and I'm not, it's like, go to the website and order them. They'll come fast with a handwritten letter or a signed letter from Matt and get them that way too.
Cool.
It's awesome.
All right, listen, thanks again, Matt. And we are going to shut this thing down.
Yeah, it's my bedtime in 5 minutes.
Thanks, everybody, for listening to this episode of Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt. If you want to support the podcast, the best way to do that is to jump over to whatever platform it is that you listen to the podcast on and give us a rating and consider dropping us a review. Hey, Joey, how can folks get in touch with us?
Our Instagram is at Gravel Travel Dirt. Our website is Gravel Travel Dirt.
No, you got that wrong. Instagram.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
What is our Instagram? We got kicked off of it, so I forgot. At Mid-Atlantic GTD. Our Wookiee competition for best voicemail, one more week left. It's 410-474-8345. Remember, leave your best Wookiee impersonation on the voicemail. Be sure to check out the Croatan Instagram. I'll let Matt give out his Instagram and website and stuff.
Cool. Matt, go ahead. How can folks get in touch with you?
Yeah, I'm at ridgesupply.com, Ridge Supply on Instagram, or Croatan Buck 50 on Instagram, or CroatanBuck50.com.
Very good. Mid-Atlantic Gravel, Travel, and Dirt is recorded this week from right here in Joey's kitchen, all the way down to coastal North Carolina, God's country. Thanks for riding along, everybody. Until next time, do good, be nice, go slow, and respect others.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye.
Mm-hmm.